Greetings. Patrick here, have Cheater Will View, and it's time for another episode of 8 Questions with. Oh man, it's been a while since we've done this. A couple of weeks, I think. Um, but we're back. We're back. And we'll be talking with film director and screenwriter and multiple award-winning director, by the way. Thor Moreno will be here with us in about 15 minutes. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking with Thor. Caught his film that actually came out last year, or maybe it was early this year, late last year, called When Jack Came Back. And I caught that movie, and I gotta tell you, it's the movie of the year for me. It's a beautiful film, one of the best I've seen, um, about an extremely tough subject. And I'm sort of glad that is such a good movie because I've done a lot of horror movies as my number one film of the year, and it's sort of nice to be able to break that a little bit and throw out a solid drama movie. And I'm really happy about that, and I really hope that you guys will when we talk about it. And I put a lot of the descriptions down, and the review comes out tomorrow, and I put a lot of descriptions where you can go check out a lot of resources, and including my review and some other things. But we're going to talk with Thor about that. But he's just not a dramatic director too. Some of his movies, including his upcoming movies, are just going to be great. I can't wait to sink my teeth into this because he's a good director. And it probably should not surprise you very much to know that he is from Iowa. Shocker, right? Once again, we have delivered a massive talent from Iowa. But Thor operates both in Iowa and he also works in California. But he is from Iowa, so we just have so many great actors, just so much talent come from there. And I'm not really surprised when I found out that Thor was from Iowa. I was like, yeah, okay, that figures. It's like the new Hollywood, I'm thinking. Um, and especially now that we're starting to hear some, well, what doesn't really surprise me that much, but we're starting to hear rumblings of slowdowns in Atlanta. It looks like work is slowing down there for some reason. The TV and movie industry is slowing down in Georgia. Not many projects are being done right now as much as they were. Uh, let's see. Hi, Anthony. How are you? Hey, Steve. How are you and Lucas boy? All right, all right. I got two watching from Arizona. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to talk to Thor and talk about his films. He's also got a couple really interesting movies that I'm excited to talk to him about. One's called Die Again Tomorrow, which sounds like it's right up my alley. Then he's got a movie coming up that's in post production, and that's Schism. And I really am interested in talking to Thor about that as well as many other things that we can come off on top of our head, top of our off of our head. Okay, but I do got some things to mention about the calendar. I have to get a few things. I know it's been a little bit hard putting together the calendar, but we do got some stuff. We do got stuff. Um, so tonight is Thor, and tomorrow night we'll be meeting Mike King. He is a Canadian podcaster who runs the Graveyard Shift podcast, the Graveyard Shift. Now there might be some special guests on that show. I'm not really sure about that. I'm still waiting I'm waiting to see what happens. But I do know that he runs him and his he does have a crew. They do run the Graveyard podcast, and we'll be talking to all things horror tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. He seems like a very nice young man. I'm looking forward, and I've been listening to his archive shows. His regular shows have been going on Spotify. I've been hitting the archives because there's a lot of movies there in the archives, and I'm more like, I really like to listen to that. So that's what I've been doing. But tomorrow, or actually probably after this show here, we're going to kick back with some popcorn and listen to one of his new shows on Spotify. But he'll be here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And then on the 10th, we'll be talking with actor Kyle Ahmet from Kansas City. He is a hardworking actor based in Kansas City, and we'll have a special co-host for that night, as the lovely Dylan Von Harvey will be our co-host for that show. She wanted to try it out, so I'm all about that. If someone wants to come up here and co-host, send me a note, and maybe we can make that happen. But Dylan wanted to come up there and do it, so I said sure. So it'll be me and Kyle and Dylan, and we'll be talking about the film industry in the Missouri, Kansas City area. And yeah, if the weather's there, we'll probably talk about Topeka too. On the 13th, super excited to get this. We're going to meet Captain Steve from the podcast Bucket of Chum, which is a shark movie podcast. Don't worry, I already asked him. I asked Eric if he wanted to co-host. He said he was sharked out. I swear, that guy's he must be dreaming of sharks. But he's sharked out for this one. But I'm looking forward to talking with Captain Steve. We will be talking sharks that night. And Lord knows I need some help because well, actually, because we're going to be doing 2 sharks. We got 2 more shark things coming up. We got a Sharkoween, which is coming up in October, and then we're going to be doing Christmas, Schlockmas, and I have to be doing the shark movies during Schlockmas. I have to do it. We're not sure what we're doing for Sharkoween yet, but we'll figure it out. That'll be tomorrow. That'll be on the 13th at 8 o'clock. On the 17th. The Midnight Society returns. That's right, it returns with another A24 night. We did the Black Coat's Daughter last month, and we had so much fun with that we decided, you know what, let's do it again. So we brought back the crew. We brought back me, JT the Nat, the Horror Miser, Monty G, Mr. A24 himself, and we'll bring back the Wonder Twins. Now, Ben from Cadaver Club was supposed to hook up as a special co-host on that. My partner, my running partner from the ISC show, but Ben was involved in an accident and he broke his clavicle and he broke his foot. So Ben is going to be out of operations for a little bit. So for a few months here, it's going to be until he feels better. We're going to go ahead and we're still going to do the ISC show, or we might not. We might actually put it on hiatus till he comes back. I'm going to talk with with my fellow knight, Mary Wilson, and we're going to make a decision because it wouldn't really feel right if we did it without Ben. I just wouldn't. It wouldn't jive with me. So we really hope that Ben as well, if he hears this, man, we're really sorry. I was so looking forward to the ISC show because Ben has been working on something that is joyful. If you're a kaiju fan like I am, Monster. Hey Jerry, how are you? Woo, 113 degrees. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, wow. It is. It's 80 degrees over here, so this must feel like a rainstorm. This must feel, but Ben got hurt, so he will not be making it for the 17th, nor I doubt he'll be making it for the 31st. Me and Mary Wilson will be here on the 31st, as we will be talking about the Shutter movie Z, and that features Keegan Connor Tracy, who I've had a crush on since I've seen her. She's good. She's a good actress. I really enjoy watching her, and she definitely is a pixie on the social media too. So we're going to be covering that. But as far as Ben goes, after that, we might have one special guest on the 17th. I'll probably know that by the end of today. Hopefully, if he comes over and rides in and helps us out, that'll be great. Yeah, we really like to have Ben with us if possible. Hey, caveman, greetings, greetings. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, not only the like button, but let your friends know what we're doing over here. I'd like to get to 1,700 by the end of the year. I have not complained about my sub count in over a year, but I am complaining now. And it's nobody's fault but YouTube's. YouTube has basically has done this many times. They have sub froze me, which means they don't allow people to sub, or they don't encourage people to sub, or whatever it is. But there's just no way in hell I should be stuck where I'm at, and I'm like, it happens a lot. You get stuck to a certain level, and then you stay there for months on end. It's maddening. It really is. It's really maddening, considering that the fun content that we put out. We'd like to have more people see it. So I like to get to 1,700 before the end of the year. Wow. So I'm probably going to be doing a small video, because I'm thinking of, we're talking to Iowa. And I do have, and I left something on my Facebook page about an incident that happened. I have not addressed that yet here on YouTube. I have not addressed it. It's something that happened to me, like I never expected to happen. Didn't expect that to happen to me at all. Now we've done some things here. We've gone through some things here on 8 Questions with. Man, we've had to deal with a couple of crackpots. One made the show, one did not. We also had to deal with guests that have passed away. Sad to say that we've had on the show, and they had passed away. One was due to come on in the week before he passed, and then he got really, really sick with COVID, and he passed away the week that he was supposed to come onto the show. And then we had Dennis Mallon, of course, fine actor, friend of the show, friend of us all. Friend of me, friend of John Henderson, Katie, Steven from House of Horrors. I think Al, maybe even Karen. We all interviewed Dennis and became friends with him, and then he was killed in a car crash. And so we've gone through things like that, through death, but we have never gone through something like I've experienced here. And it's been really, it's been like walking on eggs around, because you just don't really know what to do. It's new, it's like it's something that, like, wow. I mean, you could either put your head in the sand and hope it goes away, or you address it. And I have not addressed it. And I did write it on my Facebook page. I mean, I guess you guys can go over there. You can rate it on the Facebook page about what happened. Yeah, I just feel like, and part of me feels like, is it really my place to say something? Because I'm talking about a lot of people involved in this that have they're vested in it. I am too, because it's my name, it's my channel on here, and so I have to represent it the best way I can. But we'll talk about that in a second. But for now, we're going to go ahead and bring on our very special guest, the award-winning film director, screenwriter, Thor Moreno. Here we go. Man, I love this new phone. Thor.
How are you, sir?
Good, good. I was just I'll probably talk to you about this off camera after we're done here, but yeah, it's been a weird couple of weeks here for me and my YouTube channel. But I'm super psyched you're here, and like I said before, like I really am pleased to say that because this happened to me last year. I watched this movie I think it was in February, beginning of February, and in fact, they happened twice. I think once was in March and one was in February the last 2 years, where I watched the movie and knew instantly that it was going to be my number one film of the year. I just knew it. There wasn't going to be anything better than what I was seeing. Brightwood and The Coffee Table, and both were horror films. Right off the bat, I just said, "There's just no way no one's going to come up there," and I'm so pleased to sit there and tell you that's where I'm at with When Jack Came Back. That is a beautiful movie. I'm I'm amazed by it. It's really, really top-notch quality filmmaking, storytelling, and so beautifully acted. Um, wow, I was really moved by that.
Um, well, first of all, I cannot thank you enough for the kind words, and I'm um, thank you for watching it. And it's I'm very humble, and I'm grateful that you had the opportunity to check it out, and that it meant something to you. That means a lot to me. I mean, that's all we're trying to do as filmmakers and artists is you know share something, and if it moved you in some way, then I couldn't ask for anything better than that.
You could tell it was. You could tell it's a sensitive subject, and how I knew that was, because I wanted to see, I loved it, so I went over to the IMDb page too. I wanted to see what my peers were saying about the movie. Did they see it like I did? And lo and behold, there wasn't a single review. And part of me was sitting there going outraged and going like, "What the hell?" You know. But then again, there's half me going like, "This is not a subject that you'll hear anybody like, hey, guess what we're talking about today, gang?" It's a scary subject for a lot of people. Maybe they're scarred with it. Maybe all of us have known someone who's gone through it.
Sure.
Um, and But I was shocked still because I went like, man, this is if this has been cancer, there'd be 300 reviews on it. They'd be all over it.
Right.
But
Right.
the subject matter is either Alzheimer's or dementia, one of the two. I still think it maybe is. It's maybe it's just people are just not ready. For I like to think not, but maybe they're just not ready for such a powerful film. Um, you know, which is wrong. It's like it's a movie that deserves to be seen. Um, it really does. I totally encourage everybody to see it when Jack Came Back, because it's a powerful film.
Well,
And
again, I appreciate it, but I will tell you, like, I'm not sure what platform you saw it on, but I know that, like, on my channel, it's gotten almost 1 million views. And then there's a couple other YouTube channels that the distributor has it on, and they have almost 1 million views as well. So it's also on
it's not fun.
Tubi and Amazon,
Yeah.
and I don't know how many views it gets on there, but I mean, I feel like a couple million people have seen it, and that blows my mind too. If I mean, when you say it out loud, and so
Well, it blows my mind is that you had a couple million views, and it's just like, where are people? Why aren't you? Like, why aren't especially because people, especially IMDb, the platform allows everybody to get in there and review films, whether you're a professional reviewer, like from a magazine or a website or what have you. I've seen reviews for like I'll turn on to some of the worst movies ever, and there'll be 70 reviews on there. It's just like, really? Are you really? Uh, because it
yeah,
just makes me
I
laugh.
mean, it's very strange. I do a lot of different subjects, a lot of genres, and you just never
Hmm.
know what's going to click with people and what's not going to click. And I'm lucky enough that I get to do the projects that I do for a living, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm still small enough that I'm not a household name by any means. So, um, sometimes some of my work just kind of floats out there, and then all of a sudden it's discovered. Now, like I said, if you were to look on my channel, on the YouTube channel for Jack, which you can watch it for free there, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of messages
Awesome.
and comments, and almost everything is it's not only it's very touching, because a lot of people, for whatever reason, have felt that they wanted to share a little bit, and so there's just these really amazing stories from caregivers, or husbands or wives, or the children of people that are suffering from the uh, from the disease. And I feel like in some way the page, that my YouTube channel, more than anything, has kind of been a place where people could communicate and tell their stories. And it seems like, maybe they get a little bit of something out there, and it makes them feel good to be able to communicate with others that are in similar situations.
Now, you mentioned before how you've done other genres, and I think this is what really makes the movie even elevates it even more, is that you do come up from a background in your own words. You like doing dark material. You like doing dark movies. Maybe things that are a little bit bump in the night type of movies. And so it's really interesting to see someone who comes from that, the action thriller, or like action or adventure, or horror. It's really fun to see them walk out of there and come out there and do a movie that it's like directors are just like actors, in the sense that they get known for a certain thing, and that's all they're known for. They can get typecast. Directors can get typecast. um
Right.
it's like, here we go. You got someone like a Jordan Peele or an Osgood Perkins, and all of a sudden it's like that's all we know them for is their horror movies. But what would happen if they suddenly came out with a family movie in December? How would that be? How would people react to it? Probably wouldn't. They'd probably be going like, what are they doing? What are they doing? What
Right.
they're doing? They're, you know,
That's again, that's probably one of the benefits of kind of flying under the radar, because I get to do stories that are interesting to me. I sometimes I get hired, I'm a hired gun, and sometimes I get material that, and I would say that the people that hire me are typically looking for um something, they have a scary screenplay, or they have some kind of crime drama or something like that. So I think probably I am known for that. But um, with Jack, I mean, that was such a. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to want to do that story for a couple
mm,
of reasons. One is because it can be heavy subject matter, and the other was I didn't want to do something and do it poorly with a subject that means so much, and I wanted to make sure that I could actually pull it off, you
yeah,
know. So it took me a while, and the producers had wanted to do something like that for a long time before I finally agreed to see if I could find a story there that, because if you saw it, you probably noticed that there is some humor, and there are things in it that,
sure,
families, it's not cut and dry. We all have moments where we get along. We have moments where we're not getting along. There's misunderstandings. There's laughs when, I mean, most of the time, who can make you laugh harder than someone in your own family, you know? And so
right.
those moments needed to be in there too. And it is based on a lot of true things that happened. So it's, yeah.
I was going to ask you, was your story based on your own life experience?
Not exactly, but there are definitely things that I've experienced, um, but also producers. I mean, we did a lot of research on this too, because to be honest with you, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say I was terrified, but I was very concerned about doing a story about this and messing it up, or making it cheesy, or I
Yes,
wanted to do something that actually felt pretty real.
I think medical dramas I think they've got to be one of the hardest to do because I mean, you think you're walking a tightrope with no net because it could go so wrong so fast. Like I saw a movie called Lullaby. You just want this to you just want to go out there and slap them all. It's like what's this shit? I mean, portraying a father, a leader of a family, and he has cancer, and then you watch it, and it's so freaking melodramatic, and it's so wrong, and they get it all wrong. They they completely mess it up. They make the nurse a hard ass, and it's like you just want to go up to him and go like, you know what? You have no idea. This is all great for Hollywood, but it's hard. It's hard doing a movie like this, which is one reason why we don't see them very often.
Well, I think the trick for me, what I decided that I was going to do with that story is really just do a story about a mother and a son. Just tell a story about a family, and it just so happens that the mother's dealing with that disease. But really, to me, if we just did a good job of telling the story about the relationship and how it is strained and how they're going to work through that because they have to, there's no other choice. That I think is why it feels real. I think that's why it might stand out a little more than some of these stories, because this isn't a Hollywood story. This is just a story of a regular family with some
Yeah,
trouble, and then all of a sudden some real trouble comes in.
I love the fact that you're from Iowa. It's well established that Iowa has tremendous pool of talent there. It really does. Um,
Mhm.
I love the setting. I thought the setting was really, really well. I mean, I love the farmhouse and just the openness of the film. There's it's just beautifully filmed. And
Well, thank you. And that would be our cinematographer, who is very brilliant, David Gordon, um, a very young man, but wise beyond his years, and just incredible. In fact, when I went out to LA to interview cinematographers for the movie, I told my partner that I wasn't going to hire anybody that was under 40 years old. And when he walked in for the meeting, I thought, well, he's not getting the job. But he quickly convinced me that he was more than capable, and in fact, quite brilliant. And he couldn't have been a better partner for that project. He was wonderful. And I will pass on what you said.
um, how does that work out as far as hiring a cinematographer? What's the process for that? Is it the studio pushing it, the producers, or is it you? I mean, who hires the cinematographer, and what are the parameters of them getting hired to work?
I hire the people that I work with pretty much from top to bottom. Um, I have hands on. I just want to know, because a lot of the people that we work with, we've been working with for years when we were very, very small. We used to do a movie for, next to nothing. And so a lot of those people have stuck with me over the years, which I'm grateful for, but we're like a family now. So when we bring in someone that we don't work with every day, I feel it's my obligation to make sure that not only are they capable of the job, but they also know how to be kind and respectful. Yes, we are in Iowa. No, we're not in Hollywood, but we can leave that Hollywood stuff at the door.
Yes.
And so luckily, for the most part, every once in a while, I make a mistake and I misjudge someone, and then I don't work with them again. But for the most part, we have really talented people, and I guess the criteria would be, I look at their previous work and see if it inspires me. Because there's a lot of people that can run a camera. There's a lot of people that can, I mean, just like your phone, everybody can take a picture with their phone, but what makes it beautiful? What makes that image beautiful? And that's really something that's important to me too, is that I want I want my work to be visually powerful too, whether I'm shooting it myself or I've hired someone to do that.
Now you've won a lot of awards for your film so far. Um, so I want to go back a little bit and ask you where you got your start at. I mean, were you always in Iowa when you first started your career, Thor, or did you? Because I know you work in Iowa and you also work out of Los Angeles. But what came first? Were you in LA, then moved to Iowa, or Iowa, then to LA?
LA has been a relatively new thing for me over maybe the last 12 years. My father was born in California and my mother was born here in Des Moines, and they were high school sweethearts. But my whole life, I've moved back and forth, and I've always felt like I've had two homes. I love California. I have a lot of family out there. My father's out there, brothers and sisters. But I feel good being here too, and I love that I can. My son, I have a little boy, and he gets to play in the grass. He gets to run
Yeah,
around, climb trees, and you really can't do that in Los Angeles. He's
no,
in a really nice school here, and my wife and I, when we were out in LA last year, when we toured schools, we were like, we need to get him back home. So,
right.
I love LA for different reasons, and there's an excitement in Los Angeles that I've never felt anywhere else. I love being there. I love the opportunities. I love the meetings and everything that goes with it. But I also love the peace and the quiet and the calm, of being in
It's sort of
Iowa.
like that. What's that saying? It's a great place to visit, but wouldn't necessarily want to live there. In comparison to where you're at now, in
Yeah, I
Iowa. I
mean,
mean,
yeah, I mean, there's a reason that we always come back. We always this is a good place to be.
yeah,
We're right. We have it's quiet here. Like when
yeah,
I'm in Los Angeles, if I go out on my patio, it sounds like a war zone. You know,
yeah.
so it is what it is.
I have to admit, I'm with you about that. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles I lived in LA or California for 36 years before I came out to Michigan, and it's so peaceful where I'm at here. I just it's it's quiet. Yeah, anywhere in California I lived at was always noisy. Even in the so-called quiet neighborhoods, it was still noisy. And I really enjoy the fact that I can come out here and just it's peaceful here.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
it says the Midwest is best for raising families. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I do. I don't think I think I don't know. I mean, I'm not a father, so maybe I can't speak to that. But if I was a father, I would want to raise my child in a place like Iowa or Nebraska or Wisconsin. In the the open space areas more so than the Florida or Texas. Places like that. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so what where now so you're in Iowa, and so what got you motivated to become a filmmaker? I mean, was it always there for you, or did you ever did you try were you an actor before you became a director, or did you always
No,
wanted to do
this
a
is this is my calling, man. I don't know what else to say. It's just I've known that I wanted to do this since I was like 6 years old and saw E.T. and I saw Poltergeist. I went and saw, Bambi. I used to mow lawns to make money so I could rent movies. I didn't know what I wanted to do in the business, but I knew whatever it was, I wanted it up on a screen. I wanted to be part of the movies. And so, yeah, I've had a lot of jobs, especially in my 20s. I did all kinds of things, but yeah, there's never really been a choice. This is just what I'm here to do, for better or worse.
our good friend Larry just came in and said, "Hey, what's wrong with Texas?" I'm going, I just gave him the answer. I just said the Cowboys. They're always wrong.
Those poor Cowboys.
Yeah, I was like, so what else is what could we go crazy at? What could go wrong in Texas? Uh, Hey, Jerry, how are you? Jerry Wilson in the house. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Lady Valerie also in the house. Thank you again. Thank you again, Larry. The horror cat dad, great guy. Does his own show in the cat house. Talks to a lot of content creators. Glad you're here, buddy. We're talking to Thor Moreno, whose film when Jack came back I watched, and I'm already calling my shot here. That is the best film I've seen this year. I won't see another one better. I just won't. I've looked. I mean, I've looked, and I know Virginia Woolf is still out there. I know that's still out there. So Virginia Woolf probably will settle into a nice second place, and that's all right. That's good. Yes, I'm looking forward to Virginia Woolf night and day. It's my highly anticipated fall movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so talk to us about the first film that you worked on. Now, as far as the movies you watch, were you, because you said you tend toward the dark thrillers, the cop movies, was that the kind of movies you used to watch when you were growing up? I mean, did you have favorite actors or directors that influenced you, like, when you got older and you could appreciate them? Were there any ones that just stood out for you and said, "Man, I want to make a movie like this"? And after you said that, what did you do to make it happen for you?
I started out making shooting music videos. That was my first paid gigs, was making music videos for local bands.
Nice.
I made short films for years without ever making any money. Like I said, I've had lots of jobs, but I've put siding on houses. I've worked in warehouses. I worked as a repo person for a collections agency. I've done all kinds of stuff, but that was kind of to facilitate. I mean, obviously, I was raising a family, but I was also, kind of financing these little projects that were being made, and it it was my film school. The directors that I was inspired by as a kid. I mean, obviously, I loved anything by Spielberg, and Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark was the first movie I ever saw in a theater, and it was
Nice.
like it took me to another world. I mean, that was I'd never seen anything like it, and it was I can remember it like it was a week ago.
Yeah,
I
me too.
remember I was there with my little brother, my mom and dad. Didn't even know what a theater looked like. There was no internet, 40 years ago or whatever.
No.
So yeah, it was just mind blowing, and those movies, and then the TV shows that we grew up with, like the Bionic Man, the Bionic Woman.
Right.
We loved the Fall Guy and Dukes of Hazzard, those kinds of things. So yeah, there was a but as you get older, the things that inspire you, grow and change, and just like
Right. Of
music,
course. Of course. The types of movies you watch growing up slowly evolve over time. You mentioned the show. We could talk about this too, um, because you got to cast an A-list cast. I got to work with Lance Henriksen and Lindsay Wagner, and a rising star in Mike Markov.
Uh-huh.
Um, uh, what did it feel like to, like knowing that you watched somebody on TV in the '70s as Lindsay Wagner? Lindsay Wagner, for some of you who are much younger, Lindsay Wagner was a big star back in the day. I mean, she was a big star, big TV star. Uh, the Bionic Woman. She did the Bionic Woman, and she did several TV series. She did miniseries. Some of you might remember her from Nighthawks that she did with Sylvester Stallone and oh boy, Billy D. I think it was Billy D. Williams, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't Billy D. Williams. Or maybe it was. Oh my! It might have been. It might have been Carl. Maybe it was with Carl Weathers. One,
Well,
but she did Nighthawks with that, and I know Stallone did it. Boy, my brain went Lulu there. Um, But what was it like working with somebody who you saw when you were younger, and then here you are casting them for a movie? Um, what was the casting process like for you? Has this been your biggest cast in terms of name recognition?
I've worked with Lance on another project, and he and I kind of hit it off. He is so kind and normal when you consider all the movies that he's been in. He just seems like one of the guys, and so it's very very easy to um, it's very easy to just kind of feel like you're hanging out with your pals. It's he's just so laid back and easygoing. It was wonderful. And like I said, he is a huge he was one of the actors that I've always hoped to work with. So getting to work with him at all was it's a dream come true. And then when I sent him this script and he said, "Yeah, I'm in," I was very very grateful. Lindsay was Lindsay was wonderful too. I mean, she was incredibly sweet. She brought an ice cream truck out to the set one day so that everybody could have ice cream. you know, she's she's just a real sweet person, just super kind. Um, the casting was originally, believe it or not, Talia Shire.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
she was going to play that role, and her and I had prepped to work on that for about 6 weeks because she had signed on to do it, and then she had a issue with her back, so her doctor wouldn't let her fly. So
Oh,
so at the last minute, like literally like a week before, um, we were trying to figure out who we were going to cast in that role because everything else was ready to go. And so I had so do you remember Diane Cannon?
yes.
So she wanted the role and she was wonderful, but I just didn't. I just thought, as wonderful and as sweet as she is, I don't think that she's going to work for this farm wife that's been, you know what I mean? Like she was just, it just didn't
She was,
click
yeah,
with me.
she was extremely glamorous
Uh huh.
yeah. And Lindsay has always been the girl next door,
Rough
and
and tumble, rough and
I,
tumble.
but it's really strange, but it's like, man, I watched another movie yesterday with Blythe Danner in it, and I was just looking at her and I'm thinking about her and I was thinking about Lizzie Wagner and I'm going like, that's two women right there that have aged so beautifully. I mean, Lindsay looked amazing. Lindsay looked amazing.
Yes,
And
she was wonderful, and she couldn't have been a more kind human being. Everybody on set loved her. Um, she was just a dream come true. Honestly, I think that everything happens for a reason. And I
mm,
was very excited to work with Talia, and I felt like her and I had built a really nice rapport, and I felt like she really understood the character. But um, it just didn't work out, and I think Lindsay being there was perfect.
yeah, her chemistry with both with Lance and with Mike was spot on. You really felt you know, you really felt that they were a family. You just lost them as actors and you saw them as who they were, Jack and his mom and his dad. I mean, you just saw that. And it was so seamless, and it went so well with the story. Now, has that always been for you? Do you feel like you've always had that kind of chemistry on your sets? I mean, when was the first time that you had a set where just things just went smooth like that? Like it, well, maybe I think I'm gambling that I'm right in saying that other than the casting issues, um, I'm sure it was a smooth shoot. It was a dream. It was like this is I'm sure you knew looking at the dailies, knowing the stories it was, how your cast was. did you know, Thor? Did you know right there that this what you were making was going to be this good? Or was it one of those where you just hoped that everybody liked it, or did you know in your gut, like, yeah, this is a great film?
I felt pretty good about it because the reason why, to be honest with you, is that actors, especially actors that are well known, they're not going to put their reputation on the line unless they think that the material is okay. You know what I mean? So once we start getting people like, Diane has 3 Academy Awards. You know what I mean? And Talia, she had been nominated a couple of times, and Lindsay had multiple Emmys. So we felt pretty good about the material. And so, yes, when you're watching the scenes and it's coming together, you're like, okay, this is going well, but you never really know. And what you don't know is that I've never worked on anything that, behind the scenes, it didn't feel like the world was falling down around you. It's never easy. There's always a problem.
Yeah.
When we were doing this, we were dealing with SAG issues, and we were shooting it like 2021, which was kind of like the tail end of COVID. So everybody had to get something shoved up their nose every day. And you know what I mean? And like it was still all these protocols and stuff, which I'm not saying they're bad or anything. I'm just saying it was a weird time. And, and there, if you didn't do these things, they would come and shut you down. And it was, so it turned out great, you know, but, I just expect when I'm going to do a film that you just have to expect that it's going to beat you up. It's going to
Yeah.
beat you up.
I noticed you used a lot of local talent as well. Emily Ann Kincaid.
Emily, yeah, yeah, she's
Yeah.
wonderful.
You used Rob Merritt.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and
Frank.
I was watching that scene where he plays the sheriff. He comes in there, and I was thinking to myself, I'm not sure if he's seen this movie he did called "He Should Have Killed Me," but he was really wonderful in that movie. When I saw him there, I'm going like, it would be awesome if Mike turned around there and said, "Listen, sir, you don't have to be so crass," which is the funniest line in the movie. And but it was good seeing local talent. It was like I knew they were Iowa actors, and and they're all really strong. Oh, I mean, I can't fault a single performance I saw in the movie. I can't. The nurse was great. Even the girlfriend was perfect. It was like exactly how she played it. I liked Miss Kincaid's performance as well. I
Yeah,
mean, she was human. She made a mistake. She made mistakes, and you allowed to see that. And it was a really good performance, real strong. Because
yeah,
it's in movies like this, you tend to want to gloss over everything, make everybody like everything's just 100% perfect. And in a situation like that, it's everything but perfect. And I thought she played the nurse extremely well. One of the best performances I've seen of anybody play in a medical position in quite some time. And it was just refreshing.
well, I'm
Now,
sure she'd love to hear you say that. And you're right, she's fantastic. I mean, everybody did a really nice job. It's like I said, I think we were shooting that in like late August, early September. It was pretty hot. We were fighting thunderstorms, and it was just one of those things. But we were very, very fortunate to have great people involved. And like you said, when we first started, there's a lot of talented people in Iowa. And
mhm.
so, if you're lucky enough to get a good cast and the material's solid, then chances are you can tell a pretty good story if the execution is there.
um, the chemistry you had, which is everything in a movie like this, the chemistry between Lindsay and Mike Markov again, it was just absolutely spotless. Enjoyed Mike's performances greatly. He's a talent. He's a really good actor. Um,
Yeah, for sure. He's only
yeah,
getting bigger. In
yeah,
fact, I was just talking to him via text a few nights ago, because we've both got new projects that are about to come out. We're both excited about them, so we still keep in touch. But yeah, he's getting bigger and bigger, which I'm super happy for him.
me
Um,
too.
and yeah, he I think we auditioned about 80 people for that role. And when I went out to LA, and he and I went to a cafe in Hollywood and just visited, just to get to know him. Because again, I'm always looking for like red flags, or yes, you're a good actor, but are you going to be mean, those kinds of things. And we sat for probably an hour and a half, just visiting and talking about the character and talking about whatever and getting to know each other. And yeah, I mean, I honestly can't see. I don't know of any actor that I would have rather have. And looking back on that,
No,
I think that he was perfect for that job. And
I do
I'm,
too.
I'll always be grateful for the hard work he put in.
You're right. It's hard. That was definitely hard work. Um, so let's go some of your adventure films. Like I know you got some really cool films that look like coming up. You've done some great ones in the past. Like the one that one I was looking for. I was actually looking for this one today. Die Again Tomorrow. I just love the title of that film, and it looks like you made that in also in Iowa, right?
Yes, yeah, that is true. We shot that here in Iowa, and that wrapped in November of last year, um, right before Thanksgiving. And that's again one of those kind of odd. I mean, it's a story about bad people doing bad things, but
It's okay.
sometimes there's a little humor in that, and we try and find that. Um, and so I guess I do, even when I'm doing serious things, there's going to be humor in it and oddities. And I guess that's part of me just trying to find. Um, we've all seen a million movies. I'm trying to find a way to tell the stories that we've all heard a million times, just a little differently.
Right, right. Now, you mentioned earlier that being a hired gun, and to me, I've seen another director, Darren Lynn Bousman. I remember watching him do a commentary of a film called Saint Agnes. It was the first time I ever heard a director, describe themselves as a hired gun. Like I always thought directors were handpicked by either by the studio or by the team. And then one thing that really struck out for me was like, he says, I was hired gun on this. And I'm going like, okay, well, they were smart. They hired, a great director. And, someone asked him during the commentary, like, he was trying to he was trying to give them the benefit of his experience and how to make the movie better. Like, hey, I directed some hits, and he has. And he mentioned how he's like, I got a few suggestions, and they shut him down. He basically said, yeah, they shut me down. They didn't want to hear from me. Um, I've noticed that a lot of your films, you're both a director and a writer. Do hired gun directors, do they ever get hired to write the script as well, or are they just brought in to say direct the movie? The screenplay has already been written. Because to me, if you're writing the script and you're going to direct it, I don't think you're a hired gun anymore. I think you're part of the movie. I mean, you're part of the process. You're not just a slinger out there. You're basically making a movie with
Sure.
other people. Is that one of the is that one of the parts about being a hired gun? Is like you're just hired to just direct, and have you been in that position where you have been there and you've offered the benefit of your experience, have you ever offered that to the producing team of the movie, and have they listened to you, or because to me, I just was like, I was really surprised when they said that, because I'm going like, I don't, who would do that? You hire someone who's made his movies have made hundreds of millions of dollars. Don't you think I would? Don't you think someone would listen to what he has to say?
Yes. So there's a lot to unpack here. What I
Okay.
would say is there's probably 4 or 5 directors in the world that truly get to do what they want to do, um, on every picture that they do. And now when I say that, I'm talking about Hollywood studio films. I'm not talking about, independent under $1 million projects. Okay. But if you're talking about a studio film, you've got, Spielberg, Tarantino, there's a few others. And
Nolan.
yes, sure. That they can go into studio and they can probably do whatever they want. But even Scorsese can't do that anymore. As
Nope.
powerful as much as he's done, he doesn't have that power anymore. So there's nothing sacred in Hollywood. But at the level that I'm working in, sure, there are times where for example, an author might hire me to adapt a screenplay from their novel, and then we produce it and get it made. And when you're in that situation, it's a lot more collaborative,
Right.
because the author, most of the time, they understand that okay, I've presented this material, but I understand that I've got to pick somebody that I believe can see the vision and bring it to life. And that's really what a director has to do. They have to interpret the written word and figure out how to bring it to life, right? Um, that is obviously a lot easier if you have written the screenplay as well, because it's already in your head. Now the job is to figure out how to create that. So yeah, I mean, there's a million ways that things can go, but it should be a collaborative thing anyway. I mean, it
Yes.
took me a long time to be able to say, yes, I know this is something that's important, but I need to be able to listen to my team, because a lot of times they've got ideas that I haven't even thought of, and thank God I've listened, because it's been brilliant.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you have a lot of films underneath your belt, music videos as well. And believe me, I know shooting the music video is a lot more difficult than people think it is. They think that it's like they hear that they can make a video in 2, 3, or 4 days, but they don't understand absolutely how packed it is. There's not a single moment to spare. There's some of these videos, it's it's intense. It's really intense. And it isn't just a regular short film. It's a short film on steroids. So I mean, you got plenty of experience. You got your body of work speaks for itself. Um, what's been the funnest movie that you've made? The one movie that you just had was so joyful for you. You just had a great time. And then the other side of the coin is, what movie was your most difficult, and how did you get through it? What steps did you take to turn it around from being a hard shoot to one that ended up ended up working?
I so I'm working on something now called Stan Ritchie, and it's about a poker player that used to be, um, like, renowned. He was a champ and he was a big deal, and now years later he owes loan sharks money and he's just kind of a idiot. And
Phil Hellmuth.
so he's so we did that, and it's pretty funny, and so we all laughed a lot, and that's always fun when everybody's holding back laughs until I say cut, and then as soon as I say cut, everybody bursts into laughter.
Right.
So that's always fun. Is I don't I'm sorry, my camera's blurry.
Oh, we see you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean those when you there's every movie has times when you're laughing and stuff, but yeah, I've had a couple of hard ones. We've had some ones where we've had to haul gear up and down, like
Mm,
tough tough stuff, carrying things for miles or what seemed like miles to get to the beaches or whatever it was, and those things aren't very fun. It gets old pretty quickly. But
yeah.
I mean, I've never worked on anything where I didn't have some enjoyment from it. It's just sometimes they're a lot harder than others. you know
I was gonna say, when you do your writing, do you do you write beach scenes into the movie? Do you there's
I,
only
I think that particular job might have been in fact I know it was based on a novel, so
okay.
there was no getting out of it for me. It was just it had to be done. you know
Yeah, I would think that I would actually think that the beach shooting on a beach has got to be the most it's got to be the most difficult shoot there is, other than maybe a snowstorm.
well, we've shot on boats.
Mhm.
We've shot in the redwoods.
Oh, that's
We
gotta be fun.
I worked on a project for Disney that we had to carry all of our gear for like a mile and a half through Topanga Canyon. And
Oh,
yeah, so I mean, yeah. So I mean, I know a lot of people think it's glamorous, but it's really it is the
mhm.
hardest job I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm never if I ever whine about it, I'm reminded how fortunate I am that I get to do it for a living, because it was my dream since I was a little kid to be able to do this. So, that my complaining is short lived typically.
Uh, so how do you come up with your ideas? I mean, what do you, like, do you just do you sit in a, how do you, where do they come from? I mean, do you like, do you ever dream them or wake up, grab a notebook and write, action set in St. Louis,
I, I've
or you watch,
heard people say that they dream of things and then they write them down. I've had some really scary dreams and thought, gosh, that would be amazing, but I forget, the details before I'm really awake enough to do anything about it. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways, that I get inspiration from sometimes just driving in the car and I see a creepy field or an old barn, and you're like, I wonder what happened in there, and
Mhm.
it doesn't take much for me to find inspiration somewhere. Sometimes music, if I'm listening to music, it can inspire something, colors for me, strange colors. I can, you know, I don't know how much of my work you've seen, but there's a lot of stuff that's very colorful. And I think I mentioned earlier, I'm really trying to make pretty things, even if the story isn't
Right,
pretty.
right. I mean, yeah. I mean, well, you can't get much prettier than shooting on a beach. And Topanga's beautiful as well.
Yep.
Iowa, I mean, that's a beautiful country.
Yep.
Dead ass flat. Just you can see miles and miles. So what's the writing process for you like, Thor? Do you tend to write by yourself? Do you collaborate with people? Do you have your own office for that, or do you go out?
I do. I have an office, but I do a lot of my work at home anyway because, you know, I uh, I have four children with my ex-wife, and they're all grown, and I have a little boy with my wife, Amanda, and when my other kids were growing up, I had normal jobs, and so I missed a lot of things. So now that my son is, he's a little guy, but I get to be with him every day, other than when I'm traveling, of course. But for the most part, I've seen all the things that I missed with my other kids, the first steps, the teeth, the tooth fairy stuff, the Christmas,
Right.
all that stuff. I get to see it this time around. So I try and work from home as much as I can. As far as writing goes, I do a lot of it right here, and I used to be one of those night owls that would start in the evening and work till late, but now I just put on headphones and I write and write and write. And as far as working with others, it's not it's not that it never happens, but it's rare that I start a script from scratch working with someone. But what does happen quite a bit is that once I have a draft, I have a couple of people that I really trust that I can send to and get good critique from, and that can help shape how the story may change or whatever. So again, having the relationships with people that you trust that can tell you, yeah, this is cool, but you could do it better. What if you did this or this? And sometimes sometimes you stick with your guns because you believe in something, but sometimes you're like, yeah, thank you for taking the time, because look what we've now got. you know
Now, I mean, you mentioned your 4 kids that are grown up. What do they think of your job? I mean, they see you, having some success and putting out some really fine films. Are they? Did they go to the business as well, or?
None of them are in the business. All of them have been in at least one or two things that I've done as an actor. um, I think that for them, they grew up seeing me doing this. So to them, um, all their friends thought I was cool. They never thought I was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
what's amazing, you actually hear that from a lot of actors and directors. You always hear that, like, the kids are not impressed, or until they want to do it, and then it's all about, oh yeah, but for the most part, yeah, they're not impressed. You tell your friend that, yeah, this my uncle Thor, he's a director, he's made, like, all these cool movies, and they're excited, they're like, wow, what has he done, and it's
uh-huh,
like, oh yeah, he's done this, and then. But I think secretly, though, I think most of us, it's just like anything else. I think most of us are proud of what we do as a family together.
uh-huh,
Um, as far as that goes. Um, so as far as the other side, the other part of it, I think my question what's one time where you've had to overcome something, whether it be writer's block or, other than carrying cables for a mile and a half. Um, have you ever had to deal with anything on set, like, that required your attention as the director, or maybe you have to deal with someone who has stage fright, which happens.
sure.
Um, so how do you deal with that as a director? I mean, what's your kind of style as far as handling problems as they pop up?
Well, I think that as you do it more and more, and you've had more experiences with situations, they become easier to figure out how to kind of navigate through. I mean, it's almost impossible to not have someone that on the set in the 10 or 20 day period that isn't gonna have a problem somewhere. Whether it is an actor that needs a little nurturing or whatever it is, or someone that's not getting along. I mean, I've worked with on situations where someone had a toothache and they were miserable, and it wasn't just that they were miserable, but they went out of their way to be miserable enough to annoy everyone else. you know so I mean,
Right.
that's just an example, but you'd be surprised how fast one person complaining or dragging their feet can annoy everybody else, and all of a sudden you've got 15 people that are looking at you going, we've got to deal with something here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you have to think, okay, you've got to think big picture. If this person isn't here, how does that impact tomorrow? You know what I mean? Or can we
Right.
fix this, get back on track, and get everybody moving again? And there's never been, even at the smallest level, there's always something that comes up, and that's really what a director does. I've had my brother on set for the last couple of projects I've done, and I think what he's taken away more than anything is the amount of questions you're asked. That's really your job, is to just answer questions.
Yeah.
Just if somebody wants to know, do you want a straw in the glasses? It could be as simple as that.
Yeah.
What color fingernail polish? What color do we want the towels in the bathroom? It could be the simplest thing, or it could be something massive. Like, we need this actor tomorrow and their wife just went into labor. What do we do? How do we fix it? It's just, that's really what this business is, as from my point of view, is figuring out solutions and answering questions.
Right. I can I think that's probably what's really good about when you said earlier about, you have a crew. It's just like a family. I mean, to me, it's like, and you said during when you were, when you're working on an independent feature, someone who hired you, when you brought your team on there, and you're like, I'm going to listen to my team because they know they'll see something maybe I missed. I'm just thinking to myself, that's just the best place to be. I mean, you don't have to worry about answering maybe 10,000 questions. Maybe you have to answer like 4,000 questions, because the other 6,000, your team will already know the answer. They've worked with you long enough. They know that you like orange, and orange towels, and they know that you like 3 straws instead of one in a cup. They know this already by working with you. So a lot, and I'm sure you encourage independent movement, independent action. Like, I trust I trust my set designer to produce a set that's going to fit this movie. I
Well,
don't need to be
that's
over.
the key word, really, is trust. And you're absolutely right. That's it. You know, I've worked with such good, kind people that they know what gum I chew. They know what kind of water I want. They know I'm thirsty before I know I'm thirsty, because when you're doing it, your brain is not thinking about anything else but that. And it shouldn't. You should have 1,000% of your attention at whatever the task is that you're dealing with on it, in that situation, because there's too much money, there's too little time. You don't have time to do anything but just be as focused as you possibly can, you know
Right.
and then
Um,
try and get some sleep and eat salad so you feel good.
right. Or, or pizza. Um, so talk to me. The other film I was really curious about, and I was going to talk to you about too. Um, I like Die Again Tomorrow. I've seen some familiar faces. I see you have Annette Duffy in it, and you have Vern Coonfair. I've seen both of those. Frank
Mhm.
Moreno. See, you
Uh-huh.
have him in there as well.
Yeah, for
But the other
sure.
film I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is the one called Schism. Now
Uh-huh.
that looks interesting to me. I just looked at that and were like, that looks like. So talk to me about I looked at the cast on it, and again, Annette's in here. So you like working with the same actors, right? I mean, I see Cheyenne's working in this film with you, and
Uh-huh.
then you have. I love the name Hunter Phoenix. That
Uh-huh.
screams Hollywood, doesn't it? That's a great
Yeah,
name.
but believe it or not, that's her real name. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
know
believe
what you
it.
mean. Yeah, in
I
fact, she
believe it.
was just out here in Iowa working on this thing I'm working on right now, and she again is another wonderful, talented person. You know.
So talk to us a little bit about Schism. What's the story behind it? What you can tell us anyway. It looks like it has racked up just a ton of awards already. Is this a horror film per se? Um, is it a thriller? I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. So
Well,
um,
it's not released yet. It's coming out this fall, and I actually just saw the press release from the studio actually today, because they sent it over to say, hey, does this look okay? Is there anything you want to change? So I just found out today that it's getting released in September. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Who's doing it
So,
for you?
huh?
Who's releasing it for you?
Well, it's got about four companies behind it, so it's not as simple as that one thing. But it will be out soon, and a press release will come out. And I'm super excited about it too. It's like nothing I've ever done before. It's about a young woman who witnesses something that is so upsetting that she ends up spending a few years in a on a mental health facility, and where she thrives, and it looks like she's going to be able to get out of this place and go to a lower security facility on a beautiful island in the North Pacific. But when she gets there, she realizes she can't get off the island, and the people that are there seem very strange to her. I'm trying to tell it without giving too much away. But the thing is I guess we have to, as an audience, decide, are these things real, or is she reverting back to some of her old behaviors?
Is mental health a new hot thing for director, screenwriters to write about? It seems like there's overwhelmingly a lot of movies being done with about mental health. Is it the new catchfall? You know, the new like, okay, I'm stumped. I don't know what to write. Not you personally, Thor, but I'm just saying overall because I do see a lot of films out there with, you know, psychological thrillers. Is that is that does that seem to be sort of swamping screenwritings now, or have you
I
noticed
think
that?
that's a fair question, but I mean, if you really think about it, I think this has always been a subject that has been told, and the idea is, do you have something new to say? And I think, and one of the things and to be honest with you, Schism is probably, other than Jack, my favorite project that I've done to date. Because I promise people they're not going to be able to figure out what's going on. I promise they're going to think they know, but the last 90 seconds of Schism is going to freak people out. And I honestly can't wait to watch it with an audience, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. I've seen a couple of screenings and I know it's played in some festivals, but I was always filming when it was in festivals and stuff. So I haven't got to see it. And with a group of people that don't know who I am, they just get to watch the movie. And I honestly cannot wait to see that happen because I think people are going to be blown away. I've never seen a movie like it, to be honest with you. I shot it up in
I like those movies that have that last, you know, like the last 2 or 3 minutes of the movie just come out and surprise you. I think the last movie I saw, well, actually, man, actually, yeah, I've seen a few, which you know that the last scene of the movie has just been like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. I like those kind of endings. And you're right, they don't happen that often, really. I mean, you know, where you get caught by surprise. You know, it's really nice to have that. You know, a lot of times you find yourself, you know, guessing, guessing
Sure.
what's going to happen, and yeah, but it's nice to be surprised. Um,
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a movie that people are really going to be talking about. I mean, you never know. It may fly right over people's heads, and I know it's not going to be for everybody. But I think that people that really like to think a little bit, it's not just this isn't probably. I don't know. I think that it's a little bit more cerebral than you know some of the horror films that come out today, and I'm not saying that makes it better, but it's these are things that are going to make people think. There's puzzles here in a way that people are going to have to try and solve, and I'm really thrilled and excited because that movie's been done for well over a year now, and we're finally going to get it out. So I can't wait.
that's how has it been for you? I mean, you know, like you're to me, you're on the cups yourself. You know, one big movie away from some studio reaching out for you. Um, what do you? I mean, if you got a chance to do a chance to do an original movie, you know, for $5 million or do a big remake. or a big studio picture for $100 million, what film would you do, and why?
Well, I have always said, and I stand by this, that if I could ever do remake a movie, a horror movie, I would want to do a remake, a well done remake of the Stephen King movie Silver Bullet. That would be my uh that would be a movie that I would be over the moon to be a part of. And I have a vision. So if Stephen King ever hears this interview, I hope he calls me and asks me what my idea is, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, are you a big fan of where we're at as far as creativity goes in Hollywood? I mean,
No.
does this just seem to be just absolutely stagnant? I mean, television's almost become unwatchable, as far as I'm concerned. I look at what the networks are offering out. Um, I just see them being done and over with in 10 years or so. Uh, I just do. I don't see network TV surviving much longer than that. It's just they're absolutely barren of ideas. They can't compete with what streamers can do as far as content. The violence, the sex, the shoot 'em ups. They just can't compete, and they keep on running out the same old tired. They don't cancel anymore. They don't cancel TV series anymore. They just spin them off. It's a really unique thing to see. It's like, wow, like that's weird. It's just, where do you see Hollywood's future at? Do you think it's a bright future? As far or like to me, what's really staggering is the fact, and this is something I think that if anybody's paying attention, it's something I haven't even heard of either. But they rolled out the Naked Gun sequel. This is like they're sitting there saying how, this is rare thing that a comedy can be released theatrically. Um, it came out and did okay, but then you had Happy Gilmore 2 went out there and had over 46 million views, and you're thinking to yourself, going like, wow, so why is Hollywood sitting on certain genres, like they won't roll them out. They won't roll them out of comedy. Won't roll out comedy or certain other types of genres. Uh, why does that happen? You feel? I mean, would you? I mean, someone walked up to you and says, "Yeah, let's do a comedy." Would you do it or no? Because of the fear of why do something that might not get released or just get dumped? Would that be as a screenwriter or director? Would you see that as a challenge to do a comedy film like that, or would you feel like I'd rather just stay in the middle here, and
No, I would, if there was a story there, I would I don't I'm probably the wrong director to ask, because I don't care about that, and I don't stay in my lane. I just do whatever is inspiring to me. For the most part. But yeah, so no, if somebody said, "Hey, here's an idea for a story," and it's a comedy, if it made me laugh, I think it'd be fun. Now, would I
Mhm.
personally have questions about, am I the right person for the material? I would definitely, for a comedy, I would have to think about it a little bit, because there's certain things, like, for example, I'm pretty sure that there are people that could do a samurai fight better than I can. You know what I mean?
Right,
But there's certain subjects that I feel like, oh, I've got this. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not willing to challenge myself, but I will think about it. I'm not just going to jump in blindly. Um, so yeah, I guess to answer your question, yeah, if the story's good, if it makes me laugh, I can see myself giving it some serious thought. I'm not doing projects just to. I mean, I want everybody attached to make money. I want the investors to make their money back and make money, of
sure,
course. I mean, if I didn't, then I wouldn't get to keep doing it. But on the flip side of that, I still want to do what I want to do, because this is just too hard. It's just too hard to do if you don't care, you know?
right, right,
Because I mean, I work harder now than I ever did when I worked for someone else. I work probably 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know,
Right.
it's hard on my family sometimes, but what are you going to do if it's what you love? You're just going to do the best you can, right?
Right. Right.
So, and as far as Hollywood, no, Hollywood has turned into a business, and I know people have been saying that for years, but it's never been more true than it is right now. And the only thing that most of those studios care about is, let's make a movie for 300 million that's going to make us a billion. And they could make so many great independent films for $5 million that are actually like Jack, maybe different subjects and stuff like that. But you get wonderful actors and good stories, and you get a great cinematographer and crew, and you can have a lot of wonderful movies out there that will never be seen because we have to get the Hulk beating up, an octopus or whatever they do, like, because we haven't
that
seen
that
that for the
that
last
works for
10
me.
years.
Yeah, that's the Hulk versus Octopus. I'm sure that's probably happened a couple of times.
Well, watch.
Um,
You heard it here first. If it comes out in 2 years, I want my cut.
I just think of the Kevin Smith story where he went and met with who was this, Joe Peters, I think it was, or something
About
like
the
that.
spider.
Huh? Yes.
Yeah.
and then he says the funniest thing was when they released the Wild Wild West, and there was that damn spider in the last third of the movie. Made me laugh. That was just hilarious. Um, let's end this with some Iowa talk real quick. So, what do you think of the talent in Iowa? I mean, what if you had a name, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it like this. I'm not just going to do just two categories. I'm going to do three. But tell me who, in your opinion, I'm putting you on the spot here. Here's what we do here: 8 questions.
Okay.
Tell me 3 actors and 3 actresses and 3 directors that that has caught your attention and we should be aware of. Like, if you had to get there, say, if I came to you and said, Thor, I'm thinking about shooting a movie here in Iowa, but who should I use, actor wise, actress wise, and director wise, other than you?
Well, I
Who?
will do my best. Now, for actors, I can tell you, I would say James Serpento is
Okay.
is a wonderful actor. I love working with him, and I get him involved in almost everything I do. Um, I really love working with Frank. Um, I mean, I could
Frank is
go on
good.
and on and on. There's a lot of great people. But James Serpento is somebody that not everybody probably knows, but he's so talented that he can make even questionable writing. He can make it good. Um, as far as actresses, Cheyenne Good is awesome.
Yeah,
Annette
she's really good.
Duffy, she's awesome. Emily Kincaid, I loved working with her. Um, yeah,
She
again,
has
I
a
could
bright
go.
future, I think. I think she has a bright future.
Yeah,
Her, Cheyenne.
and
Her, Cheyenne.
Cheyenne too.
Yeah.
She's such a sweet person who takes her work very seriously. She really digs into roles. Annette is the same way. Directors, there was a time when I knew every all 5 directors in Iowa, and now there's so many, and there's so many
Yes.
people that they directed a project, and you know I'm just
Yeah.
old school. I don't know. I don't, I mean, I would, I do enjoy going to local festivals and stuff like that from time to time when I can, and sneaking in and seeing what's happening, you know. But the truth of the matter is, if I'm not outside on set, I'm kind of a hermit because I'm always working, and I produce a lot of the stuff that I do as far as the planning, working with my partner and scheduling and all that stuff. So I just don't get out like I should and see
Right.
everybody's good work.
But it's sort of nice though. You can see a lot of it on streaming or screener, so you can catch up at home without being dragged out to the theater when I mean, it's cool to go to the theater, but it's also nice too to have that option of having something to be able to watch from home. You're not going to get interrupted. People are going to ask you questions during the viewing. You could, if you miss something, you can instantly hit replay and
Hmm.
watch it again.
I
You
do
know, it's,
love watching movies with headphones on in my home, but I went and saw 28 Years Later recently,
uh-huh.
and when the first one came out, nobody I knew wanted to see it. They thought it was a foreign film. No one cared, and I remember seeing it, and that truly was the movie that made me shift and go, okay, let's start pushing. Let's figure out how to do this because I'd never seen anything like it. A horrifically horrible situation where there was still beauty and good acting, excellent acting. And so that movie made me think about things in a different way. It did just because it was horror didn't mean it had to be crappy,
Oh God, no. I
you
mean, there's a
know?
lot of beautiful horror films.
Right.
Uh,
But if you're not
right.
exposed to them, if you don't know where they are, sometimes they're hard to find. But anyway, going to see this movie all those years later, and I'm telling you, I was in a theater and, a couple of seats over here, there was a husband and wife. Over here, there was a husband and wife. And I was in the back row and I was just watching and there was grown men bawling their eyes out at this movie. And
Wow.
I mean, and it was cool because, for whatever reason, there was an experience that you were having that was touching, certainly, but it was cool to be in that environment, to be in a movie theater with people and getting to have those experiences. It reminded me again of being a little kid and watching Raiders and going, "Oh my God, what magic is this? What where are these lights coming from? How is this image in front of me? And and who is Indiana Jones? I want to be his best friend."
No doubt. My last question to you, Thor, before I let you go.
Yeah.
What's been your best movie that you've seen so far this year?
Well, I'll tell you, I really loved 28 Years Later, but another one that I thought was brilliant and it was beautiful, and I loved the music, I loved the acting, was Sinners. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was wonderful. It was so good, and the music was so fun. And I thought that the director made some really bold choices. Um, I don't think it's a story that I mean, we've seen From Dusk Till Dawn, and you could
Right.
argue that there was some similarities, but I think the way that he chose to show how music has changed over the years and how um, the music down how it inspired the story, I just thought it was really beautiful.
All right. We have hit our mark. I want to thank Thor for coming out and hanging out with us. I'd like to thank the chat also for coming out and hanging out with us. In fact, if you guys have a couple of questions you'd like to ask Thor, we'll take a few questions if you have them. If you have any questions about his process, about the films he's worked on, where to get them. Yeah, and again, highly recommend that you guys look up When Jack Came Back. It's a powerful film. It's the best film of the year I've watched. And I believe that if you watch it, you'll say that too. It's a magnificent piece of work and very well done to Lance and Lindsay and Mike. I heard Lance retired now. Is he done now? Did he end up hanging up his boots or?
It would. I don't know for sure, and I haven't heard anyone say that except you. But it wouldn't surprise me. He Jack was like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and he was a very, very, very busy man, flying all over the place. So I wouldn't be surprised. He's a huge pottery guy, and
Okay.
he has a big kiln on his ranch. And so I think he really loves just hanging out and making pottery, you know?
That's nice.
So yeah, I think I think he'd be okay if he just chilled. He's
Yeah.
certainly made a great impression on moving pictures.
Yes, I mean, he's done so many great films. Every time I think of Lance Hendrickson, everybody thinks about aliens, alien. For me, every time I think about him, I'm always thinking about Hard Target because it's Lance Hendrickson and he's with Arnold Vosloo as his henchman, and I'm thinking
Uh-huh.
that's Bishop and the Mummy.
So I will tell you, I'm going to warn you. My I can hear them. They're about to come in. My wife and my little boy. So if you
Okay,
hear a child, that's just my son, and he's
no
going to be
problem, no
excited.
problem. We're gonna go ahead and end this right now. Thank you guys all for coming in and watching the show. We'll be back tomorrow with Mike King from the Graveyard the Graveyard Shift horror podcast, and we'll be talking all things horror tomorrow night, and looking forward to that. And yeah, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So hopefully you'll come and hang out with us. Thor, stay right there for a second. And to the chat, we're going to go ahead and say goodnight. Again, thank you for showing up. Wouldn't be here without you. Have a great
Thank you
night.
so very much.
Peace.